from the lab. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren.
And I'm Jen Carfagno. And we've got Greg Postel with us today talking, well, a lot of things, Greg, but really focusing on the Northeast and the chance for snow this weekend.
Yeah, northern New England will probably get a lot of snow. The question is, will Boston break their record? They only need 2 inches. I'll talk about that right away.
Also, we're looking at some rain, possibly some snow that's going to move into parts of the Northeast, possibly Boston once again.
Yeah,
maybe.
Right. Yeah. Maybe so.
All-time snowiest season on record. A possibility. It's within grasp. It's just right there.
It's gonna be, yeah.
There's a lot of rain though too, and there will be in the north.
This is Weather Center Live, and we are here to talk about what's happening in the South right now, and to talk about what's happening in parts of the South, guys. We're looking at the Northeast.
We're here to talk about the wedge.
So, the wedge
let's
meaning...
begin with that.
And
begin with that.
Hopefully we can get Jen's true feelings on the wedge. With it comes an east wind.
Oh, my goodness. Jen and I are going to write a book about this someday, about how the east wind brings no good for most people.
There's nothing good about the east
no.
wind. All right, so why in this particular case?
Yeah, well, we've got cold. Now, you were talking about, Chris, you opened it up with, we have to talk about what's happening up in the Northeast in order to understand the wedge. That's exactly right. It's a phenomenon that is associated with cold high pressure over New England, and we've got that right now.
They don't like their weather either, by the way. It's in the teens this morning up here across the Northeast.
Yeah. So thanks, New England, for the air you're bringing to the south here.
Look at this trajectory now. The air is coming down around that anticyclone. You know, it kind of goes clockwise around those high pressure systems that are oftentimes cold this time of year. And it is coming down and finding a sort of a conduit, a pathway that would be sort of from that direction. And, you know, Chris, you did this. I remember you were drawing mountains on this. I kind of like doing that. So we can draw the Appalachian Mountains on here and show you that kind of it gets funneled in that direction and the air slides down the coastal plain east of the Appalachians.
And cold air is so dense and heavy compared to everything else. And so it just pulls in and gets stuck. And I love how you can see it all the way down.
And it gets dammed up, essentially.
Yes, yes, it does.
Air.
It gets, wedged.
Right up on the edge. I mean, obviously.
Kind of like sticking a piece of wood into the bottom of a door, kind of trying to wedge it in there.
Or a wedgie.
Or a wedgie.
Yeah, we're getting that as the cold. Yeah.
These are all negative things, so.
So it's coming down, and there, look, there's the topography on here. How about that? Isn't that great when we show maps with topography?
I think it really tells the story. Yes,
absolutely.
I agree.
I am a big fan of maps with topography.
With topography, so you can really see the terrain, because oftentimes weather is terrain driven, and this is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, as you go up in elevation, it gets colder for sure, but in this case, the cold air gets stuck alongside the mountains.
Yep, and it's traveling toward the southeast, and it is going from, for example, Maine. I bet you if you were to run trajectories here in Atlanta to find out where the air is coming from, it would be somewhere probably eastern New England.
So if we put like dye in a little parcel of air and track it to see where it went.
I was feeling Maine lobsters.
Putting dye in your veins to see.
You'd see it come down to the southeast from the northeast.
Or you could just smell the Maine lobsters in the air around here, and that's one way to think of it. But yes, look at the temperatures right now. 46 in Atlanta. That's come down probably about 5 or 6 degrees since I drove in this morning a couple hours ago. So very cold air is filtering in, and it's going to continue to do that today.
Before we get away from this, let's talk about what's happening right now. If we have a camera of Atlanta, we can show what this also means. It feels colder, but you can also see it. And when you look at this, this is typically what a lot of people think of when they think of places that include Seattle, Portland, Oregon, London, England. You need the windshield wipers. You don't need them going, full blast. You don't need them full blast, but the little mist. We call it a driving mist out there where there's a little bit of wind.
So this is a view from the top of the Coca-Cola World Headquarters in Atlanta, and
it was in the 70s a few days ago.
Yeah, you were wearing flip-flops.
Right. So let's go ahead.
There's low clouds sort of socking in the skyline.
And here it is too, Cold Mountain in North Carolina. And here's some of those mountains where that cold air gets dammed up against.
Is that the name of it, Cold Mountain?
It looks like it.
It is. Okay.
Those low clouds are indicative of an inversion, so the cold air is coming underneath it. And let's time it out on the maps here on the Max. Let's go through this afternoon. You can see it stays cold for much of the day. But look, Jen, there's hope. Check this out.
A south wind is coming.
It's the wind direction.
By the way, we should take a moment and just say the wind direction is where the wind is coming from. So we say east wind, we mean from the east. We say south wind or southwest wind coming from that direction.
And then look at the temperature change by Saturday, tomorrow.
Such a difference. See why I hate the east wind? I mean, southwest wind is so much better.
She doesn't hate much. The happiest, sweetest people you'll ever meet, but she hates that east wind.
All right, so coming up next, we're going to talk more about the heat, and actually heat big time in California.
And what it means for all the runners in California as well. See the tail end of the runway. I'm Chris Warren with Jen Carfagno, and we're taking a look at this Charleston, West Virginia area.
Yeah, this is a story that we're continuing to follow. Again, the land literally slid. People did get out of the way. We saw some video earlier where folks saw this happening. There had been little slippages in the days prior to the landslide, which happened yesterday.
And this is not, this part of it right here is not an active runway, but you can see this part of it taken out, and this is the whole slide area right in here, and this is the part that was the hill face essentially was shifted.
No snow on the ground, Chris, and that's because what they had has melted, but this has been an area that has received a lot of moisture, whether from snowfall or from rainfall over the past 2 weeks, really, so very saturated ground that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and it looks like this was possibly even like landfill, like it pulled out here to extend the runway is what it appears to be. But regardless of the actual makeup of the soil, the impacts here, you can see there's the road, and then there's the other part of the road right there.
So this is certainly a concern right here, and we're concerned about more rain coming into this area. Greg, thank you.
But Greg, pretty soon we're going to have tropical updates, and right now we have a one in a sense to show you right now. Let's take a look at where we are.
It's been busy in this part of the world. So we're in the southern hemisphere, in the South Pacific, and you are looking at a Category 5 cyclone. Pam is the name of the cyclone.
Here's Fiji right here, and then Australia is just right over there.
Right off here. First of all, a couple things you'll notice: the direction it's moving, south, and also circulation is opposite as well.
Let's bring in Dr. Greg Postel right now, if we could. Dr. Postel, why don't you come in here and talk about this?
All right, let's talk about cyclone.
We'll show a photo from folks in Vanuatu who are bunkered in, and this photo was taken and shared on Twitter by Josh Morgan. He's iCyclone. He goes after these storms and he documents them, and he is here and he is monitoring this. He said they're inside a cement. He's not there. Excuse me. I'm sorry. He got this photo from someone else. It's a cement building, though.
That's about what you would need to withstand this. This is a category, equivalent of a Category 5 tropical cyclone in the South Pacific, and it's actually formed out of an envelope of thunderstorm activity that's been hanging out in the same area of the South Pacific now for a while. This area of enhanced thunderstorm activity has one tropical cyclone here. That's not Pam. Pam is actually down there, and it's got a lot of other little swirlies in there of tropical nature. So we see that sort of pulse of thunderstorms there. It's actually associated with what's called an MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, which is an eastward moving pulse of clouds and rain that can sometimes harbor tropical cyclones, and that area of enhanced thunderstorm activity has done just that. So you can thank, to some degree, the MJO and the rain and thunderstorms associated with it for the formation of Pam, which is unfortunately a very powerful system with the eye just move over the island of Efate right there. That is some ferocious weather system right there.
And from what I understand and seeing from your observations, it's really the core, the strongest winds are really associated with the core right along the edge of that eye wall.
All right, we're back in 60 seconds.